doing. Okay.
All right, I think we good.
Yep. We are great. Come on, let's do it.
Welcome to Fresh Tech Tips, episode 13. I am Darrell Norris, CEO of Fresh Tech Solutionz. I have a couple of my business partners with me.
Oh, I'm Nicholas and Daniel, founder of management.
And I am Dr. Doug Franklin. I am the CEO and co-founder of Deck Launch.
And today's Fresh Tech Tip topic is procrastination. Wasted time is worse than wasted money.
Hey, Darrell, real quick, before we really start into the topic, we have something really important to talk about. Yesterday was the birthday of our Nicholas and Daniel. And so anybody watching, I really want you guys to know how important Nicholas is to all of our businesses. He's always working behind the scenes for us. He's always working in public for us. Look at his embarrassed face. He's like, don't do this. It's too late, brother. It's too late. It's too late. I just want Nick to know, Nick, we love you dearly, and we had to express this publicly to everybody else, man. You're a fantastic asset to us. You are our brother. We love you. Thank you.
Birthday, Nick. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I hate that you did that, but I appreciate it, bro. I love y'all too.
so let's get into some of this procrastination discussion. So I kind of want to go over pretty much 3 or 4 main things. First, we're going to go over why do we procrastinate. Then we're going to talk about overcoming procrastination, and then reasons not to procrastinate.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about shooting your shot.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First of all, procrastination, I think everybody knows what it is. I mean, it's pretty much delaying or avoiding what you're supposed to do for a number of reasons. We'll go over some of the top ones. But what I thought was funny is that it's also known as dilly-dallying or shilly-shallying. I don't know if you want to be doing anything that sounds like dilly-dallying or shilly-shallying, but I thought that was really funny. But yeah, why do we procrastinate? First thing is life events, man. External obstacles, really, things that are happening around us. And right now we have something pretty big that's happening around us that's all affecting us the same way, but that's metastasizing to different ways. So that's the first thing. Can you guys talk about some of the things that you're facing?
Well, so for me, the easiest thing for me to say, and Nick and I had the same conversation, is just like, man, just getting our kids in line. I think we talked about this a little bit last week, because initially we were just sending our kids to school, get on out of here, and now we're making sure that our kids are online the same time as we are. Sometimes they're doing virtual classes. And so it's really easy to say, oh, well, I got to sit and make sure my kid is doing everything that they're supposed to do. And business comes second. And like, we all come from a family first perspective. And so it's really easy for us to be like, man, well,
yeah.
When the Rona tells us to do what we're supposed to do, we got to take care of the kids first.
Yeah, not having the right environment. Yeah, that's a big thing. I mean, it really is, because we're creatures of habit. And I think LeBron was talking about this as well, as just like being conditioned to performance under certain circumstances. Like your body knows, okay, it's time, it's quiet at a certain time of the day. Who knows when your brain starts revving? It's like, let's go. But these days, since everything's all thrown out of whack, you might get to that time and you can't go. So after you've done whatever it is that you were doing, then you're like, do I really want to do this, or because it's difficult?
Yeah, man, life can happen, man. It's especially, right now. And it's kind of interesting there. This topic is about procrastinating, and, especially during this time, because right now is prime time for you not to be procrastinating. And it's, it's the time to get those things together, get those things done that you have been procrastinating about for a long period of time. So let's talk a little bit more about fear, perfectionism.
Yeah, and it's perfect. I like what you just said. I mean, right now is a perfect time because it's kind of not an issue, really. I mean, it always is. There's always a limit of time, but now that time is not an issue, or like excuse that you've been giving yourself, I don't have time to do this, I have time to do that. That's kind of been taken out. So now you're seeing other problems like, oh, I'm still not doing it. So now what's the problem? And am I afraid? What am I afraid of? Or am I a perfectionist?
Yeah, when you get to perfectionism, we're talking about all these itty bitty details that we always try to consume ourselves with before we even get something out in front of people. And so just so you know, you've literally been trained to be a perfectionist because of everything that you had to do in school and then moving forward. So like what happens when you when you had to turn in the essay to school? You had to proofread it and you had to proofread it again because why? You were worried about losing those 5 points per grammatical error, per sentence structure mistake you made. Everything that we have been conditioned to do or trained to do as starting as early as kids, always comes back to play into this. And so there's so many ideas that we sit on because we're like, oh well, I don't know this specific detail. I don't have these specific people under me. Maybe I don't think I have the financial backing to be able to do it. There's a whole bunch of things that we talk about that we go ahead and we put it in front of our idea that really blocks us from actually being successful.
Yeah, and this goes back to, when we was talking about leaping with no hops, is the same thing, people trying to wait until their business plan is perfect and everything's lined up perfect before start taking that leap, but you wind up just never jumping. And it's the same thing for our day-to-day tasks, so these kind of things apply across the board.
Yeah, and then I think the next thing we have is impediment. And this one is like really deep as we were talking about this and I was researching it further, and this is where it just gets crazy. Self-sabotage, which could be probably its own thing by itself. Self-sabotage is one of the biggest reasons for procrastination. Addictive escapism, running away, which is another type of self-sabotage to me. And other things like depression, imposter syndrome, lack of confidence or affirmation, low self-esteem, low energy. These are things that affect us in our mind that might be kind of the reasons that we're procrastinating or our methods of procrastination.
Yeah, so I have a really cool example that happened over the last couple of days. One of my students called me because I'm working with a bunch of doctoral students on their dissertations, and she said something along the lines based on a survey I sent her. She was like, I realize I am blocking myself from being successful because I haven't taken an honest look at myself, and I always think about the things that I can't do. But if I work on them at the same time as working on the task at hand, which is finishing my dissertation and working on my dissertation, that everything could be good. And that's really what it is. So like back to the whole leaping with no hops conversation, right? So so if you're going to wait until you can go ahead and dunk a ball at 10 foot and you're jumping at 7, like how would you know if you could jump at 8 or 9 if all you're doing is sitting there lifting weights and running and you never jump? You got to jump at some point, right? This is really what we want to try to bring forward to you. You got to jump because you don't know when you could do it.
Yeah, and thanks for that shameless plug for my book coming soon, Leaping with No Hops. That's a great segue into overcoming procrastination. So overcoming that fear that you were just talking about, finding the root of that fear. Nick, you wanna get on that a little bit?
Yeah. So what I was also, while I was doing research, it became apparent that the first thing is to recognize that, okay, I am afraid to admit it, because that's a big thing. Some people, you don't want to recognize or admit that you're afraid of something. It's like a whole extra set of steps that you're adding to the problem, because then now you're avoiding the fear, and that's the reason why you're procrastinating, which becomes a cycle, as you can see. So recognize, okay, I'm afraid of this, then why is it that I'm afraid of that? And then address that. What is it? Is it a lack of skill, or am I afraid of failure? Have I rejection before, and that's what's causing it? Find out what that is, and then you can deal with that. And then, like Doug, you were saying, what were you saying of early stage products, if we move into the product sense?
Yeah, so this is the thing, right? So like for our brand new entrepreneurs that were building ideas before Corona hit and are going to continue to build ideas, the reality of the situation is that a lot of the world has gone through this lean stage process where you think slow, you start and scale or fail fast, and what you do is you take the opportunity to be able to revise. And so this is really a scientific method where you put an idea out there, you see if it sticks, and if it doesn't, then you shift things to fix things to work to your favor and to the favor of all the people that are going to buy into your idea. And so we talked about this a little bit with the nature of pivoting, right? And so your idea in the short term always seems really daunting to us, right? And so that's why we're scared of failing. We got to make sure it's perfect, because we have this idea. We don't necessarily know if consumers are really going to like it. Well, how are you going to know if they like it or not if you don't test it? That's the reality of the game. And so you have to be able to get out in front of it and really try to see if people actually like your idea. So where does that come from? That comes from testing. That comes from asking some of your closest friends. It's coming from building a good professional circle around you. It comes from a mastermind group, something we talked about in our earlier podcast. And so there's a lot of things that you could actually do. But a lot of times what happens to us when fear happens, we go ahead and we just hold our ideas to ourselves. And so guess what happens if you hold your idea to yourself? Someone else will go ahead and do it. And that's the thing about fear, is that the fear of you executing should actually be less scary than the fear of somebody taking this over from you. And so you are the greatest asset. Your idea is really awesome, and you're the one who can execute it.
Definitely, and that covered overcoming your fears and the perfectionism as well. So let's talk about the mental impediment part. There's a lot of different levels to this. I want to start with the level from everyday tasks in the office. One thing that we do is we have, if you ever been to our office, you know that there are whiteboards everywhere. It's probably about 10, 11 whiteboards. You write on the windows, you write on the refrigerator, you literally write on everything. But everything's color coordinated. I have blue as my color. Everything of blue is my task. Doug has green, Nick has orange. So that kind of helps us keep each other accountable. It kind of limits that procrastination in the office. So we see something that's been on the board for 2 weeks. We're like, hey, Doug, that green color been up there for a little minute, man. What you doing? So I mean, I
gotta erase it, right?
And it helps. It also helps build momentum, man. Well, I can always hear Rel singing his "I'm scratching stuff off." That's a PG version. I'm scratching stuff off. I mean, you get so happy when you're scratching things off. It just makes you feel good. It builds momentum. It makes you able to get more tasks. I can't remember who it was that was speaking. And I was just watching this video, and he says that he gets up in the morning. The thing he does is make your bed, and then that helps you carry on to the next task. Before you get to the end of your day, and you've done maybe 10, 11 things that you needed to do, and it starts with that first thing. So that momentum And in the office, when you see Darrell scratching things off, I mean, it makes me want to scratch things off. It makes Doug want to scratch things off. You know, so that momentum, that energy is contagious.
Yeah, like one of the greatest things that I picked up over the last year and a half or so of working with these guys came from Randy Williams, who's the CEO of Tally and Twine, and he talked about how we as entrepreneurs get so caught up in the details that a lot of times we don't like to knock off objectives. And so that's the nature of our ideas, right? It's like eating an elephant. It's such a big concept. And so if you've heard this adage, what do you do when you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. So you got to scratch those things off. And the best part of scratching things off is that it provides momentum. And so even if you were just stuck in a situation where you're like, oh my gosh, this task is so daunting, then go find one of the smallest tasks that is a part of that concept and just go work at it. And you don't have to even work at it for hours and hours on a day. Maybe today is not your day to really work because we have a lot of things going on right now. You're worried about your family. You're worried about your friends. You're worried about your livelihood. Maybe there's something that you could do within 15 minutes where you're just doing a Google search on some research, or there's some ideas you could write down. Those 15 minutes that you do in that one day might lead to 3 or 4 hours of really constructive work the next day. So really just don't give up and just really make sure that you always take care of some of these smaller items so that you can get to the bigger items, because you will be able to eat that elephant if you go ahead and do that.
Yeah, and right now we're actually, I just circled to focus. We're talking about focus right now. I want us to cover the mental impediment issues. Right now we're talking about focus, and what you're talking about, Doug, it's a planning. So this is where planning fits in. Because when we sit with that huge idea, we make it this big thing, we put it on a pedestal. I mean, that's the thing with the fear and whatnot. But when we break it down into smaller bits, it becomes less daunting. It reduces your fear, and also helps soothe a perfectionist, because now you're not looking at this big thing that has to be perfect. You're looking at these smaller tasks that need to be, I guess, perfect or as good as they can be, and gets you going. And then for someone who doesn't have focus, when you can scratch things off, you know, it helps you narrow your aim on one thing at a time. So it helps that focus helps you move forward and build accountability.
Yeah, no, so and another piece to that the mental side of things that I believe we touched on this before, but I still want to touch on it again. You know, there is a lot of things that can be going on in our personal lives that could cause procrastination of a lot of things in our lives. And I just wanted to promote therapy once again on this podcast, because it's a lot of people out there who, you know, especially people that look like me, who are scared of therapy. And, you know, we probably need it the most out of everybody. So especially as an entrepreneur. So don't be scared of therapy. And that could help with some of this procrastination as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that, bro. Because I didn't want us to get past that, because the mental issue is a big thing. You know, I mean, we want to talk about recognizing it and admitting that, hey, you know, this is an actual problem. I have something and I need some help. I need some inspiration. This is something that is bothering me. So that way, when you recognize this, I want to also say in league with therapy, which is external help, practice self-forgiveness and self-love, because the cycle of these things is that when you can't get something done that you want to get done, and it's because you're depressed, you get more depressed, and you just keep on going and going and going. Like, forgive yourself. You're like, all right, this is something I'm dealing with. I'm going to get moving on this task, knowing that it might not be perfect, or I might struggle with it, but it's okay. You're going to keep moving. It's going to be okay. Just keep going. It's going to be fine. And rely on people who are close to you, people who you trust to affirm you, to give you support. You don't feel like you're alone. That also helps with any kind of mental impediment.
Yeah, and think about the nature of the vicious cycle that you can break, right? So everybody's been there before, where you're mad because you can't get anything done, and so then you don't get anything done because you're mad. Yep. And so that's really what we're talking about when we talk about making sure that you take care of yourself mentally, and then reach out to a therapist, or if a therapist is outside of your means right now, a transparent significant other who's going to give you not necessarily the answer you want to hear, but the answer you need to hear.
Yeah. That's probably procrastination cycles. Every topic that we talked about, they have their own vision, and they keep you from getting to where you want to go.
So let's talk about some of the reasons why we shouldn't procrastinate.
Well, the easiest way to talk about this is the great adage that says that you miss all of the shots you don't take. You miss 100% of the shots that you do not take. And that is really the biggest thing. And I think I talked about it a little bit earlier where I was saying, look, if you ain't going to do it, someone else is. And how many of you have a friend that says, oh man, I had this idea, but blah, 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 stole it. Like this is a conversation that we've had before in our own personal circles where, you know, it always seems like we have a friend who had a really great idea and didn't execute, and then someone ate it up. And so like this could happen to you. You could be that person. You just don't want to be that guy.
I don't know how many times in Deck Launch that we've gotten phone calls from same idea. And it happens like every, you know, we have one idea we get a phone call about probably about every 6 months.
So somebody else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the ideas are out there. So, I mean, so if y'all sitting on that idea, you know, take that leap.
And all of that, and just to go with that time, you know, so we just talked about lost opportunity, but time-wise, I mean, you may delay, but time will move on. You know, time waits for nobody. So you're in your hole. You're like, oh, I'll do this later. You think like you feel like you control time, and you feel like you can always come back to it, but that's a lie. That's a lie that we tell ourselves. That's self-sabotage. So you just remember that when you're waiting, the world is not waiting on you.
And this is another good time where we could bring, because Darrell referenced Tiger King in the Facebook post about today. And I get to talk about this because I'm the doctor, so I can. So whatever you do, don't run your business like anybody on Tiger King whatsoever. But what Tiger King showed you, if there was anything positive that came out of a lot of that dysfunction, is that there were a whole bunch of people doing the exact same thing in a whole bunch of different ways, dysfunctional, but a whole bunch of different ways. So if your fear is that, oh, someone else is doing it, and you don't realize that you, in the way that you have an idea, have a sustainable competitive advantage or an advantage over what everybody else is doing, or you're doing something slightly different than what everybody else is doing, and it could change the game or change the market, or at least make everybody else in the market think about how they're doing stuff, then you're missing your opportunity. And so that really is that piece of lost opportunity again. And then most importantly, happiness. What are you going to be mad? What are you going to be more mad about? If you try and fail, or if you completely miss that opportunity altogether and let someone else take it from you? Like, don't let anybody take your opportunity from you, particularly right now in this climate when you have time to shoot your shot. Come on and shoot your shot.
Yeah. Even if we to a smaller level, whenever, and I mean, this is talking to us. We always say that every time we do one of these, we're kind of talking to ourselves first before we're talking to everybody else. But whenever I'm in the midst of procrastination, whatever it is that I'm doing, regardless of how much I enjoy it, I never enjoy it as much. What I'm supposed to be doing is just taking my attention, taking my energy. It's eating me up. So now you're killing yourself in two ways. You're ruining what you're doing, wasting time doing that, and then you're not doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing, wasting time not doing that. It's just, it's a rock and a hard place. So if you want to truly be happy, you got to do what you need to do at the right time. So I try to remind myself.
So going back to this time that we're in, this coronavirus time, these new times, so they say, there's something that we've been trying to do, and we want to encourage everybody to do, and that is shoot your shot. Shoot your shot. We've been shooting shots. And
lots of shots.
Life's too short, man. We've been sitting on on a lot of ideas and new products and events. So we're just gonna start getting it done and stop procrastinating and use this time as encouragement for us to get some of those things done that we've been sitting on. So if there's something that out there that you've been thinking about, that you've been holding on to, shoot your shot.
Agreed. That's the best way to make this time useful for us. Best way to make this time useful for you, whatever it is that you had no time for. Like, let's get to it. And if even all that is you finding out more about yourself, learning more about your fears, these fears that you've been able to hide behind. Oh, I don't have time to address that. Let's address that now. Like, recognize what it is, focus on it, work on it, and then move on to chasing your dreams or chasing your aspirations.
So while we have a little bit of time, what have y'all shot your shots on? Because that'll be this is a good point, right? What have we been shooting our shots on?
We've been shooting lots of shots. We got some events coming up. We got some software projects that we're trying to work on for some big companies. So we're going for some big names now. So we got all kind of stuff in the works.
Well, I mean, we're shooting the shot right now. This whole going live thing was was an adjustment. It was not the way that we usually do things. The period forced us to start something new, and we did it, and we're doing that right now as we speak.
Shooting a shot with the Houston coronavirus app.
Yeah, please check that out, guys. Like, please check it out. Hopefully we're able to provide some resources to the community. Also, I've been shooting my shot for mentors. So, I sent an email out to a gentleman who has a real similar background to me beginning of this month, and we had a good initial conversation, and I've literally asked him to be like my mentor now, and he said yeah. And it was one of those things that I never expected, because regardless of whatever, and I think we have it in our notes, we talk about an imposter syndrome where you're like, I can't be good enough to be able to talk to this group or this person. You're actually better than you think, probably. 9 times out of 10, you're actually punching in the weight class you can be in. And so, like, there's a lot of relationships and opportunities you're missing if you just don't shoot your shot.
Before we leave, I'm going to actually shoot another shot to you guys. We are currently still recruiting for the fresh sales team. So if you have any sales experience, shoot me a DM, shoot me a message, get you some of this commission money. So to close out, after shooting those shots, I just kind of want to recap on this procrastination thing we've been talking about. We kind of discussed why we procrastinate, overcoming that procrastination, overcoming those fears, overcoming that need to be perfect, and those mental impediments. And then, reasons why you shouldn't procrastinate. And then finally, we just want you to shoot that shot. So if y'all have any more questions, please join the Fresh Tech Tipz Facebook group. Drop us some messages, and we'll get back with y'all soon. Y'all stay safe out there, stay sanitized, and we will see y'all next Monday. This is Fresh Tech Tipz, and we will see y'all later.